In 1975, when the Khmer Rouge seized control of Cambodia, the first thing they did was to evacuate the entire urban population to the countryside. Families were forced on long journeys, for the most part on foot, and only to arrive at temporary destinations where they would be sorted and separated. In the passage I'm about to read from In the Shadow of the Banyon, Rami, my young protagonist, and her family are held captive at a Buddhist temple at a time of one such selection. The moon came and went, but we remained where we were, bound to this enclave of the disappeared. I began to cling to Papa, terrified of losing him. I trail his every step and watch his every move. When he got up to go anywhere, I'd rush to accompany him, often clutching his hand so tight he winced. One day, when I accompanied him to town, we learned that our friend, the old temple sweeper, along with a truckload of more affluent residents, had been relocated to another place. Where exactly the old sweeper was relocated to, or why, no one knew for certain. When Papa tried to find out more from the revolutionary soldiers doing rounds at the temple, one of them told him matter-of-factly, "If you're too rooted, you must be yanked out and planted elsewhere." Rooted, yanked, planted. My head was filled with such words. Spoken as they were, they rang with concealed rancor and venom. Even as a child, I recognized a tenor of the absolute. You're either for or against the revolution. There was to be no ambiguity, no middle ground. The old sweeper had too many bad connections. The town, the temple, the monks, and now us. Therefore, he couldn't be trusted. "Weeds must be uprooted before they multiply," said the soldiers. And as if to reinforce their militant counterparts, the town's leadership, the party cadres, would further intone, "Brothers and sisters, comrades, together we must forge a new political consciousness. We must let go of our old habits and desire, make personal sacrifices for the greater goods." Listening to them, seeing how they moved and carried themselves, you have to wonder if they had been young Buddhist novices in their earlier incarnation, if, like the old sweeper, they had spent part of their adolescence sweeping the grounds of temples while learning to read and write through the recitation of Buddhist principles. Life is filled with suffering. The cause of suffering is desire, but we can end suffering, and we do so by choosing the right path. The glorious path of the revolution is not without obstacles, the bespectacled cadre asserted, standing yet once again in the middle of the school grounds outside the classrooms, flanked on either side by an older-looking cadre. "We've traversed jungles," he sermonized, "crossed rivers and mountains and braved one battlefield after another to arrive at your doorsteps." Something about the young cadres reminded me of Papa, a poet's sincerity perhaps, a respect for words, as if each one had weight and value beyond the sound it made. He spoke solemnly, carefully. "Now we need you to help construct a new world, a Cambodia that is democratic, prosperous, and just. Comrades, you have only to look at the suffering around you to know that you are needed. You must rise, offer your education and skills." This seemed to resonate, and the crowd stirred. Vacant stares flashed with understanding, heads reluctantly nodded in agreement. The two elder cadres noticed, and taking advantage of the opportunity, one of them pulled something out of his shirt pocket, a page from a notebook folded into four, the perforated edge frayed like lace trimming. He unfolded the paper and began to call out names, a long list of names: Vong Janta, Kong Virak, Mbun Lane, Sok Sanat, Chang Kotsal. I thought I heard our name, but I couldn't be sure. So many Khmer names sound alike. Say Saret, Sarairat, Sim Sawat. The list ended. The senior cadre folded the paper along its original creases and put it back in his shirt pocket. He narrowed his eyes, searching among the faces staring back at him, like a magician looking for volunteers from an unwilling audience. No one moved, no one breathed. Even the sky seemed frozen above our heads, a still white tableau. The senior cadre stepped forward, his feet pounding the ground. If no one was willing, he seemed to be saying, then he would decide. He would make a proffering, choose a sacrifice. Looking at the list again, he called out, His Highness Sisavat Ayuravan, a prince and a poet. Something crashed. My eyes shot in the direction of the sound. It was Mama. She had dropped the rice pot. My gaze shot back to Papa. He did not look up or even stir, but remained as he was, head bowed and arms crossed, his every muscle still. We're honored to have you among us, Votre Altesse, the senior cadre enthused. You'll be an example to others. Please come forward, Altesse. He waited. Still not a leaf moved. Comrade Ayuravan, we know you are here. Please identify yourself. This is a bit later. Do you know why I told you stories, Rami? Papa asked. We had left the others, their panic and fear, and hid ourselves in the solitude of the meditation pavilion. I shook my head. I knew nothing. I understood nothing. When I thought you couldn't walk, I wanted to make sure you could fly. His voice was calm, soothing, as if it were just another evening, another conversation. I told you stories to give you wings, Rami, so that you would never be trapped by anything. Your name, your title, the limits of your body, this world's suffering. He glanced up at the face of the wooden Buddha in its corner of the room, and as if conceding to some argument they had had earlier, murmured, Yes, it's true. Everywhere you look, there is suffering. An old man has disappeared. A baby died, and his coffin is a desk. We live in the classrooms haunted by ghosts. This sacred ground is stained with the blood of murdered monks. He swallowed, then cupping my face in his hands, continued. My greatest desire, Rami, is to see you live. If I must suffer so that you can live, then I will gladly give up my life for you, just as I once gave up everything to see you walk. I shook my head. I could not accept it, this senseless and cruel barter of one life for another. My outlook was simple. He was my father, and I his daughter. We belonged together. I could not fathom my existence without his. I wanted to tell him, but I couldn't find the words. I didn't know how. Again, I shook my head. No. His whole face trembled, his still palm disturbed, rippling with agony and anguish. I'm telling you this now, the story, for it is a story, so that you will live. When I lie buried beneath this earth, you will fly. For me, Rami, for your papa, you will soar. I didn't respond. I wanted him to stop talking. Whatever it was he was trying to tell me, it sounded like a goodbye. He pulled back, inhaling. I know you don't understand, but one day you will. A stream of tears slipped from the inner corner of his right eye and trickled down the curve of his nose, caressing it, lingering at the flare of his nostril. Forgive me when you do. Forgive me that I will not be here to see you grow up. He couldn't say more. Instead, broke down in a sob, his face buried in his hands. 100 Devadas joined him, their cries sounding like a flock of birds, taking to the air, their wings beating across the dusky sky.